myself again, but it's the only way.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith, and I'm delighted to see I'm joined by Holly Blades. Happy New Year, Holly.
You too. It almost feels like I haven't spoke to you since last year, Steve.
Yeah, it does, yes, 100%. And to be honest, I think because the games have been off as well, it actually has seemed a prolonged amount of time since we've actually seen each other. So, we've always got plenty to talk about, though, in the world of Newcastle United. And as always, plenty of people in the chat to give us some things to talk about as well. Where do we start? Well, let's start with Trippier, I guess. The transfer window's open. I'm not sure whether you've seen the clip that's doing the rounds on social media, but Atletico, of course, played today. Kieran Trippier was last off the pitch. And from the clips that I've seen, it did certainly look as if he'd stayed to wave goodbye to the Atletico fans. I mean, am I being a little bit hopeful there, Holly, or do you think there's something in that?
I think there is something in that. Of course, we saw that Newcastle have launched a formal bid for Trippier, which is really, really exciting. Made the effort to go out and get him on the first day of the window, which is something we're not used to at all. And then, obviously, he was in the squad tonight. I was a little bit worried, thinking, oh, well, if he's getting game time at Atletico Madrid, then maybe he won't want to come here. But at full time, the way he kind of left the pitch certainly kind of sent a message, I thought.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, yeah, it is good to hear that Newcastle have made formal approach. And, you know, ultimately for us, that is a massive positive. We can bring a player in early doors. I think we need 2 or 3 in early. Kenny, sorry to hear that, mate. Get well soon. Hope everything's okay with you, mate. Not nice to hear. I think more and more people are getting COVID. Alan Robertson, good afternoon, good evening. And thanks for joining. Thanks for subscribing. If anybody's out there who hasn't subscribed, you just need to click the subscribe button. It's free. Love the show, he says. Was Trippier in Atletico's squad today? And hello, Stephen Holly. Yeah, he was. And as I say, it's doing the rounds on social media. It looked very much as if he was waving goodbye. He stayed on the pitch last. And it did look like a little bit of a farewell. So I think we'll keep our eyes over that over the next couple of days and see exactly what happens with it. Another one that's getting mentioned on a regular basis, and Tom's brought this up. He says, what's your thoughts on Aubameyang? Should we go for him? I think he might do something to keep us up. Look, I said this, a couple of days ago. I think it was on the Three Amigos. You've got to get players who are going to do it on the pitch, but you've also got to get players who aren't going to cause problems in the dressing room. And I guess the key really is, why is he not getting a game in Arsenal? What's going on there? Is it just simply a case of him falling out with Arteta, or is it deeper than that? What is going on with Aubameyang? Would he want to come to Newcastle? Who knows? But I mean, look, we need players who are going to come in and hit the ground running. We need players who are in Premiership mode. We need players who are fit and players who can, adapt to the style, but also players who are going to get on with our players. I mean, it's a potent mix that we need, and it's a mix that we need to gel very, very quickly, especially with the 3 games that we've got coming up now. The way that it's fallen with the Southampton game now being off today as well. We have an FA Cup game against lower league opposition, which you'd like to think would build us some confidence. I would love to see us get through in that game. And then we've got 3 6-pointers in a row, 2 of which are at home. So we need players who are going to hit the ground running. Would I take Aubameyang? I've changed my mind, I think, since Friday. I think, yeah, look, if there's a bit of a chance of him actually wanting to come, and we've got a chance of getting him, and it's a loan deal, yeah, why not? Why not try and get him in on loan? We'll get him and Trippier in the next week prior to the Watford game. It would be fantastic. But let's see. Holly, what's your take?
Yeah, we discussed Aubameyang on the last show, and I was a lot more keen than you were initially. I think that Aubameyang's a really good forward. I think he'd help out in this team a lot. And certainly for a half a season loan, he wouldn't do a bad job at all. So I'd be all for signing Aubameyang. I get the problems, that he might have with the manager and stuff like that, but maybe a fresh start in a new club's exactly what he needs, because he has been at Arsenal a long time. And I think when players are at clubs for a long time, you start to see a change in attitude.
Yeah, I would agree. Barry says, should we avoid signing players who might be in the African Cup of Nations, Holly?
I can understand why, because obviously that's going to affect the season. But if there was someone out there, and I can't really think of a name off the top of my head who I think would benefit the squad, then I'd still go out and sign them. But as far as I'm aware, the players that are on our radar aren't in the African Cup of Nations.
Yeah, we've got to avoid that, because we need players who can come in and do a job straight away. We don't need players who are going to come in and then potentially get injured playing for the nation, and then not be available for us. We need players who are available. Tom, thanks for that, mate. Tony Harrington is the referee, and VAR is Simon Hooper for the Cambridge game in the FA Cup. And just keeping an eye on this other game as well. Obviously, Liverpool are playing Chelsea. Not sure whether you've been watching it, Holly, but it's been an absolute humdinger today. This one, 2-0 up Liverpool, where Chelsea pulled it back to 2-2. Second half has not been devoid of chances. It's just been divided goals, but it's still 2-2 and plenty going on in that game. There was a game of significant importance for us today, of course. That was Leeds-Burnley, Holly. Leeds winning 2-1. I guess if it was a team that had to win, I would have preferred it to be Leeds because of the fact that Burnley had so many games in hand. And that could have been, a bit of a nightmare for us, I think. But I think Leeds, a draw would have been better, but Leeds winning means that it's starting to shape up at the bottom who this relegation battle is going to be between. And I think if Newcastle can get the players in and get those wins against Watford, against Leeds and against Everton, it's going to look a lot different at the bottom of the table by the end of January.
Massively, those 3 games are vital in the season. If we manage to get 3 points against all 3 of those teams, which is a big ask, then I think that will be us pretty much safe. I don't think we'll need to do much more after that. Obviously, we'll need to continue picking up points, but I think that will make a big difference. Burnley I've tipped as one of the 3 to go down, so I'm pretty happy that Leeds has got the result, to be honest.
Yeah, Trolls says, seeing that Chelsea are sniffing around Trippier, I hope he doesn't go there because we need him. I think Trippier would prefer to come to Newcastle because he's going to get games.
Yeah, I agree. You go to Chelsea and you probably wouldn't be kind of a club hero sort of thing. This season, if he plays a part in us staying up, he'll get a massive name for himself in Newcastle. Of course, there's a project there, there's an idea. He is coming towards the end of his career, and ultimately, I think Newcastle would offer him more wages, which he'll probably be happy about.
Yeah, I mean, it's game time he's going to want, with international games coming up. And at Chelsea, he's just going to become part of a squad. And, if he doesn't fit in, he could end up spending time on the bench. He's not going to want to do that. So Alan says, how big a game is the Watford game? In my opinion, it's massive, says Alan.
Yeah, I certainly think it's a very, very big game. They're one of the teams that's in and around us in the league. The 6-pointer, we need to pick up the points against those, especially at home. So yeah, I think the Watford game, along with a couple of others, will be one of the deciding games in our future at the end of the season.
Steve Middlemas reckons that Trippier is off to Manchester United or Chelsea, in his opinion. Sean reckons that Trippier's last off the pitch today looks like his goodbye. Alan's been very optimistic tonight. He says, who do you want in the FA Cup final?
The easiest team possible that's left.
Is a cup run something you'd want?
No. Controversial one, but no. I think a cup run can be a positive thing for the squad. More wins, boosts mentality in the team, but ultimately we can't risk injuries. The relegation battle we find ourselves in should be the priority. And whilst we're floating in and around the bottom 3, I think we don't need the extra games. Yeah,
Paul reckons, he's happy he's glad Watford and Burnley got beat. They're the 2 that are going to hand us the much wanted 17th place here. Watford, I mean, they were unlucky yesterday, weren't they? 1-0 defeat, 96th minute, Holly.
Yeah, I was watching that. Really, really happy when Spurs scored. I think we were all supporting Spurs for that particular game. But yeah, they were unlucky and they did fight right till the bitter end. Unfortunately, it was one of those last-minute heartbreaks.
Yano says, why join Newcastle? Do you want to play in the Premier League, Champions League, or do you want the chance to win them? That's why you join, says Yano. Sean then asks, thoughts on the Uber link?
Aubameyang.
Oh,
we
right, okay.
That earlier.
Yeah. I didn't know who Uber was. I've got to be honest. Is that what they call him? Is this like some kind of abbreviation of his name that I've never seen before? But yeah.
Yeah, it's like G7.
Is it? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Paul says, Trippier was hugging the players. You don't do that unless you're off to another club. Tom doesn't like the Aubameyang idea, Uber. This is a bad move. Troublemaker, need to avoid him. Troll says, Uber has Gok's car. Now more needed to be said. Would Digna be a problem in the dressing room, says Louis?
You're going to run that risk with a lot of kind of big characters. But for me, I think players will know what they're coming in this season to do. They'll know that they've got a big task on their hands. They're going to be expected to work, and we're going to have to fight every game to get as much points as we can to stay up. So I think any player that comes to the club knows what will be expected of them, and I think it should be okay. And I think Eddie Howe's more than capable of controlling kind of controversial characters in the dressing room as well.
Paul says, Aubameyang's off to the African Cup of Nations. I would try Lukaku on loan if Chelsea don't want him now. I can't see Lukaku coming, can you?
No.
Paul Gibson says, credit for Joe Linton. Last 4 games, he's went from Robbie Savage to a Kaka. What's next? Dummett injury-free, turning into a Cafu? Yeah, Joe Linton, we've covered him before. J7, whatever you want to call him. He's been great, hasn't he, the last few games?
He has. He's actually started to be one of the standout players every game, which you never thought you'd see in a million years. And I think he'll play a massive part this season and will be a part of the future of Newcastle as well, which sounds really, really bizarre to say if you look back a year ago to what we were saying about Joe Linton.
Yeah, Jody Toomba Life says he's away on African nations. It's a no from me. He has trouble written all over him, not what we want. Steve says it's a 4-horse mini league. You've got to beat Watford or we're down if we can't get players in. Yeah, a lot of us know that. I think we've got to beat Watford. It's a 6-point. We've got to beat Watford. We've got to beat Leeds. Leeds are down there. Despite the win today, they're still within touch and distance. And then we've got Everton, who are just above Leeds and on equal points, just ahead of them on goal difference. And that game against Everton at St James's Park, the nighttime fixture, is another huge game. So Everton are on the crest of a slump. Newcastle are, not doing well, but at the end of the day, played a lot better against Manchester United than we've seen them play all season. We need to maintain that kind of performance, and ASM will be fit, we think, so that's good news. We've just got to, find a formation, find a goal scorer prior to that game, or make sure that we've got, a formation set up to win that game. But yeah, it's a 4-horse mini race at the moment, potentially 5. Aubameyang's point is he won't be available at the February African Cup. Everybody's saying exactly the same thing. Sean says Igalo for sure will be brought in, playing in Saudi at the moment. Is that a good move?
I don't think so, no. To be honest, I don't really want to bring anyone in that hasn't had any Premier League experience whatsoever. Yeah,
7 minutes to go in the Chelsea-Liverpool game with time added on as well. 2-2 still. Villa were awful, says Be Happy. Yeah, Brentford won. Another good win for Brentford. They've edged their way away from it. I think Villa are sitting in 13th. But again, there's always a team that drops. I'm not saying it's going to be Villa, but there's always teams that drop in this relegation battle. At the turn of the new year, teams can drop. But Brentford doing well on this, clawing their way away from the bottom.
Yeah, I think they're one of those teams that have a bounce when they initially get promoted. I think next season, if they stay up, they'll probably start to drop off a little bit more if they don't sign some kind of more bigger names ready for the Premier League. We saw that with the likes of Sheffield United a few seasons ago. A fantastic first season, and then they were relegated the next.
Yeah. Question, if we sign anybody abroad, will they have to quarantine when they come over here with COVID-19? Tom, it depends where they're coming from, mate. Really depends which country they are and what the laws stipulate between the two countries. For example, if it was France, it would be, there would be an isolation period. I'm not sure what it is. I haven't been abroad myself for best part of 2 years now. So, I'm not sure. But yeah, there would be different regulations for different countries. VAR must be working on this game. Must not be working on this game like ours, says Darren. Yeah, you're right. The Liverpool-Chelsea game, there's been a few things 6 seconds in, and there should have been a sending off, to be perfectly honest. Roger, good evening. Barry says, Steve Holly, what do you know about Ben Brayton Diaz? Is Brayton the one from Blackburn?
I'm not sure.
There's a striker from Blackburn who's just beaten Alan Shearer's record, or equal Alan Shearer's record for scoring 20 goals in quickly in a season. And I know Newcastle have certainly seem to have an interest, according to the media, for him. I don't think that would be a bad move. He certainly looks like he knows where the back of the net is, and I know it's at a lower level, but I would rather look at somebody like that than spend £35 million on Ivan Toney, which is another thing that's been linked today. I certainly wouldn't bring Toney, and I don't think that's what we need at all. I think we need a good striker that can hit the ground running. Kenny reckons we're going to get Rafa the Bullet, which is a shame. Do you think that'll happen, Dolly? Do you think it'll be the straw that breaks the camel's back if we beat them?
It could be. I'm surprised at the amount of patience that they have had with Rafa Benitez, because in the past they've sacked managers, as soon as they start to lose a couple of games. So I thought he would have been gone by now. Potentially it could be that game, but I could see them holding on to Rafa for a little bit longer.
Keith says, Aubameyang, no, he's a troublemaker. Lots of people saying that. Johnny Ola says, old cliche, but every game is a cup final now. Julie says, the transfer window is going to be like a soap opera, twists and turns and cliffhangers galore. Yeah, it's already started like that, hasn't it? And lots of rumours, lots of counter rumours, lots of people on Twitter saying they know this, that and the other one, they know absolutely nothing. Like I've said, best thing to do is wait until the person is announced by the club. We've got 19 games left. How many points do you think we'll need to stay up? I'd say 34-35, Tom. What about you, Holly?
Yeah, it's got to be between 35 and 40 points, I think. Might be a little bit lower this year because some of the teams at the bottom are particularly poor. But yeah, I think probably we need another 20-25 points at least.
Yeah, I don't think it'll get to 40. I think we've passed that day. I think it'll be around about 34 or 35, Tom. Richard says, Steve, Holly, do you think the club will sell extra season tickets next season, as there is probably no need to, as every match will be a sellout anyway? For example, next week, cup tie. Richard, I think there will be season tickets on sale after the Watford game. I think there'll be a few half season tickets available. But yeah, it's going to be difficult. There's going to be demand. I believe that the cup game was close to a sellout, according to some people on the podcast yesterday. But yeah, I mean, they've also got to keep a percentage for away fans, and the percentage has to be sold, I think, on a match-to-match basis. I think that's the Premier League laws. But I mean, it would be nice to see a few more available season tickets go up for grabs, wouldn't it, Holly? But it's going to be difficult if you're in a queue for those. You know, I don't know how big the waiting list is now, but I can imagine it's massive.
Yeah, I think there will be some half-season tickets go on sale because the demand's certainly there. We didn't sell out the season tickets this season, so I would imagine there'd be quite a few up for grabs, but not enough for the amount of people that want them, because I know there was a mad rush when the takeover first went through.
Yeah, Tom says the problem with the African Cup of Nations is that it's been held in Cameroon with a civil war escalating. English-speaking region wants to break away from the rest of the French-speaking Cameroon. I didn't know that, mate. To be honest, I haven't paid much attention to it, but thanks for the update. Steve says, me neither. Holly's safety priority. Just hope we have the people behind the scenes to get what we need. He's talking about the FA Cup, of course. 8 out of the next 9 games are against bottom half teams. We need to go on a run. Would you give the captaincy to Trippier? He looks the sort of character who could lead us forward, says Barry. I would say no, Barry. We don't know what the guy's like. Obviously, he's a signing who, would love to have, and if he does come in, I think he would just come in, fit in, and I don't think he would want to come in and unsettle the dressing room straight away. So the answer is no from me, Barry. Holly?
Yeah, same here, not straight away. I don't think you can give someone the captaincy without seeing how they kind of perform in the dressing room, how they get along with the players, etc. And, it wouldn't be the best way to start a new era at a club, coming in and kind of upsetting Jamal themselves.
Keith Longworth says we can't rely on other teams. We've got to start winning a few games, which is true. We do need to win these next 3 games. I think that will help us massively. I'm wondering if Manquillo has spoken to Trippier to tell him to choose Newcastle with them being there. Well, it does happen, Ollie, doesn't it? Players do speak to players, they text each other and whatever. It's going to help when, you have people at the club who know him. Yeah,
it will be. I think that would be, it is a possibility, because a lot of the new players seem to be very happy under the new owners, the type of vision that they have and the way that we want to go forward. And hopefully the January window gets even more people on board for the summer when they see what type of recruitments we're bringing in. But yeah, I'd love to think that Manquillo has had a word.
Yeah, Barry says he was impressed with Everton signing a player on the opening day. Hoped it would have been us, though. Yeah, I mean, is it going to be extra pressure, do you think, the longer this goes on without us signing a player, Holly?
Yeah, I can imagine so. I know everyone went a bit wild. Obviously, it is a joke, but as soon as it struck midnight, everyone was like, come on, let's get the players in. And everyone, we're just expecting to sign some fairly decent players. I think a lot of people's expecting big money to be spent. I'll be happy as long as we have, probably 5 players that are capable of keeping us up. But yeah, I think there will be pressure there. There'll be pressure on the players that's currently in the squad, because they won't want to be losing their places, and hopefully it makes it a more competitive team to play in.
Mark says, can you see us winning a game in the next few weeks without new signings coming in? Yes, I can. I think we'll beat Watford 100%. So there's one game. What about you, Holly?
Yeah, I think we can win games without players coming in. You saw the type of mentality and the motivation and the performance that we put in against Manchester United. If we keep up that kind of work ethic, then we're more than capable of winning games, especially against the lower teams. Obviously, it's harder now without Callum Wilson and ASM, but I still think we've got it in us to win.
Alan says, I've never screamed for a Spurs player so much since Sol Campbell handballed against us in the FA Cup semi-final. Great, as they say, come on Spurs, as Burnley game in hand is against them. So yes, I know what you mean. We shouldn't have to be relying on other teams, but at the moment, with us not playing games, it's nice to see the results going our way. Alan says, players out of the squad, do you have to pay their contracts up, or can you still put them on gardening leave? I'm not sure, Alan, on that, to be honest. Everton are dropping like a stone, Roger. You are right. We must be offering Trippier 100k a week at least, and can go if we go down in his contract. Yeah, I mean, they are going to be paying decent wages, I would imagine, Newcastle now. We can't get only Premier played players. That means we have to get unwanted players, and that might take us down, in my opinion. It's interesting. What's your thoughts on that, Ollie? I mean, Premier League played players, that means we've got to get unwanted players, and that might take us down. So players that aren't getting played in the Premier League is what Trolls is saying, I think.
So like players that are out of favour at their clubs?
Yeah.
Well, if you're looking at, obviously it would be a concern if you sign someone that was out of favour like Norwich or somewhere like that. But if you're signing someone that's out of favour like a Man City or a Chelsea, then they're going to be good players, because they have such a vast squad of good players that it's hard for anyone to kind of get in their teams. But some of their worst players would be the best players at Newcastle. So I'm certainly happy to take a few kind of rejects, if you like, from Premier League clubs.
Yeah, I know it says teams currently outside the bottom four have got some difficult games coming up. So there's at least 8 teams in it. Yeah, of course. I haven't looked at the fixture list for them. I guess when you're that far down the table like we are, you tend to look at the teams around you. But yeah, I mean, I can imagine, that there's going to be big games coming up for other teams. And the African Cup of Nations is certainly going to play its part. And we're lucky in that respect that we don't have any players who will be going across that's going to affect us, which is a big thing for us. Mark Earlham says Mitrovic has scored more than Diaz. Brayton Diaz plays for Blackburn. Decent Chilean international, but is actually English, says Tom. Diaz is proven in the Championship, and we've seen so many times they flop in the Premier, but might go the other way, of course. The Toffees are turning on red, black, and white. Rafa, says Paul. Yeah, well, that happened at the start of the season, didn't it? Really, we've said it's bizarre for him to do that. Which striker would you two be in? I'm not sure what that means, Greg. Which striker would you sign, maybe? I don't know, Holly. I mean, is there any striker that you would like to see come to Newcastle if we could? It doesn't have to be somebody who's available. Is there somebody you'd really like to see come in?
The January window, I think that's where we should probably prioritise spending the money. If we are going to get the likes of loans and stuff, then I think if we are going to spend the money, it should be on a striker, because that's the most important position. Now Wilson's injured, it's going to be really, really important. I think it's going to be hard. You're not going to get a very high-profile striker coming in, because obviously we're 19th in the league. No one particularly in mind. I know Aubameyang is in the Cup of Nations as a forward. I do rate him quite highly, so I'd be happy if we got him in. But I think we're going to have to wait till the summer before we bring in someone that's like decent.
Yeah, Liverpool and Chelsea finished 2-2. I almost preferred it when we were linked with buying absolutely nobody. It was less stressful, says Mark. What's this trend of spammers and their VAR nonsense? I've got no idea, Julie. It's absolutely bizarre in the chat. We seem to be inundated with Russian spam every now and then whenever we'll come on. But I've got plenty of you admin there to take them out, which is good. It would be good if Cambridge could get 10,000 supporters to come up. It would be brilliant for them on a one-off. Only my opinion, though. I mean, they'll come with supporters. I mean, I know when we played Luton, a couple of seasons ago, they brought 5,000 up, didn't they? It was a good day out for them. So I can imagine that there will be a fair crowd of Cambridge fans there. Good thinking, not going for Tarkowski and me. Them two donkeys will take Burnley down, says Paul. Yeah, I mean, Burnley are on the crest of a slump at the minute, aren't they, Holly? And going for defenders who are conceding goals, just as badly as our back four is not exactly, and so enhancing your chances of staying up, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I know we've been linked with Tarkowski for pretty much the full first half of the season, but as Burnley's form's dipping, he's not really performing. I don't think we should go for him.
Tom Dixon says, is it true about Southampton making a complaint to the Premier League? I think they've just bumped their gums, haven't they? The manager's been bumping their gums about the game being off, Holly, which it's sour grapes, isn't it? We saw it with Everton fans. We've now seen it with Southampton's manager and fans on social media going off it. Yet when other teams call their games off, nothing's said.
Yeah, it's only Newcastle where there's been this sort of uproar, and that's probably because they're worried about what type of players we're going to recruit in January. If we're going to spend big, then obviously they're less likely to get a result against us. And while we're on a bad run of form and have only won one game all season, they'll fancy their chances. It is pathetic, really, from the Southampton manager. I've seen them saying the demand to see which players are out with injuries and which players have got COVID. That's just disgusting, because honestly that's nobody's business but the players. You can't just kind of breach those confidentiality and release those type of information to the public.
Mark says, in the last couple of years we stayed up with some amazing lucky wins. Our luck is completely gone. Will it ever come back? I think the worm's turned. I think the Manchester United game was certainly a turning point. And I think there's been fits and starts in some of the other games that we've played. We've seen a change in tactics. We've seen a change in energy from certain players. As we've mentioned, Shelby, Joe Linton, etc. are playing a hell of a lot better. So I think from our perspective, Mark, I think we will be all right. And I think the luck has turned. Johnny Ola says, Craig Bellamy in as a coach. Now he is left-hand elect. Bobby Robson said he's the gobbiest player I've ever known. And Vincent Company rates as my coach. I wouldn't take Bellamy.
Not for me either. I think he's got quite an interesting character. He's a bit too bold, I think, at times.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Bellamy. I loved him as a player, but he's not for me. I've got to be perfectly honest. As a coach, I think there's a lot better, and I don't think he'd work well with Howe either. Paul Gibson says, remember when Man City got the Klingon, Joelyn Lescott? That's what we need. Not the best, but could do a job. There's plenty out there like that. Will players come in on higher wages upset the camp, Holly?
It could potentially initially, but I'd imagine if players are stepping up and performing, like we've mentioned before, the likes of your Joe Lintons, then they'll get a wage increase come the end of the season. They'll just have to wait their time, because obviously they're still on the contracts that was given to them by the previous ownership.
Will players coming in on higher wages? Well, I think ultimately, it's always going to cause an issue in the dressing room. If a player comes in, he's the highest paid player, and he's not pulling the weight. He's not doing the job. And that could be like an Aubameyang. Aubameyang's the highest paid player at Arsenal. And if he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing and not pulling his weight and, coasting, as you would say, then he's going to upset players. I think that's when the problem starts, Kenny, to be honest. A lot of people pulling you up about the comment about no Premier League experience. Ollie, Jamie Vardy did okay with no Premier League experience. Somebody else earlier said Messi's got no Premier League experience, so you wouldn't take him. I mean, it's going to the extreme, that. But, I mean, yeah, Jamie Vardy came from the non-league. Ian Wright came from the non-league. Vinnie Jones came from the non-league. They all did well in the Premier League. So you do have players, but it's a gamble, I guess, isn't it, when you're taking players from not Messi, of course, but you're taking a player from the non-league, then it's going to be a gamble.
Well, generally, I'm a bigger fan of bringing players up through the ranks, getting them from lower divisions or even abroad. I think we've had some fantastic recruitments in the past, but just currently at this specific time, I think we need people that have proved themselves, because we're risking the future of the club. We're risking going down or staying up. When it comes to a point where we're stable in the league and we don't have those type of worries, then take a gamble on players, but not right now. Great
players from abroad. You must have been talking about Perez there, were you, Ollie?
Absolutely not, no.
Hey, it's the first one of the new year. Tom Dixon says, what's your thoughts on Maddie Longstaff and Rodrigo Vilka back at the club? Would you give them a game on Saturday? I wouldn't give them a game on Saturday, but it's strengthening the squad until we get players in. I would imagine that Vilka might go back out on loan somewhere else. I still think Maddie Longstaff will get a chance under Howe, but I could be wrong. What's your thoughts on that, Holly?
I agree. I think Matty Longstaff will get a chance under Eddie Howe. I think he's got a chance to impress as well. I think he'd suit the style of football that we're trying to play at the moment. Struggling a little bit in the midfield, of course. John Drew Shelby stepped up, but we've still got the likes of Joe Willock, who's not really performing. Hayden's got an injury, so he'll definitely have a chance, and I'd be happy to see that. Vilka, I don't think he's probably ready quite yet, and I would be happy to send him on another loan.
Okay, big shout out to our sponsor, Spider VPN, for all your internet security. Google Spider VPN. They are the boys to trust. They come up with a Google search list and you can find them on there. Skipsandbins.com. Thanks to you guys as well, coming into 2022 with us. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free, and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks also to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 0191 389 7245, and to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD, hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.thegohd.com. Thanks also to Arcot Interiors for your kitchen necessities. They are based on Heaton Road. Google Arcot Interiors and they come up at the top of the Google search list as well. Thanks also to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and also the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com, where you can buy lots of cups, t-shirts, hoodies, you name it. Get yourself on NUFCmatters.com and you can find everything on there. Thanks also to jabsignature.co.uk. They've got a brand new boxing leisure range out, well worth popping onto their site, jabsignature.co.uk. They are the guys who do our flyers. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It's free to do so. You just need to click the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner of your picture, and that's it. You can subscribe for free. And we do 7 shows a week, and we also have a lot of other content added to the channel on a day-to-day basis. Please hit the thumb up underneath the video. That helps us massively. And click share to share to your other social media. Drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans or to post a question for us on the show. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and the other podcast providers. The show usually goes up within 24 hours of a live show. And if you want to become a cult member, then put your phone over this QR code and it takes you straight to the website. It's £25 one-off payment to become an NUFC Matters cult member. And what do you get for your £25? Well, you get your little membership card, a cup, a pen, and a black and white NUFC Matters scarf. You also go into the free prize draw, members prize draw, which we have once a month. John from QTech provides the prizes. We've also got a couple of events coming up over the next couple of months, but this is the one that comes up at the end of January. An afternoon with Newcastle and England legend Peter Beardsley at the Time Theatre and Opera House on Westcott Road, Newcastle. And tickets for that are available on Voucher and on Groupon. So great discounts to be had on both of those discount sites. Get your tickets ASAP. That is going to be a cracking afternoon. And as you heard yesterday, Mick Lowes is going to be fit to do the Q&A that day. So looking forward to welcoming Mick back up to Newcastle for that. Also got these T-shirts available on the Twitter account. Now, this is for the food bank. If you go onto my Twitter, at Steve Wraith, it is pinned at the top. You can make a bid for that, and all proceeds for that T-shirt will go to the food bank. We've raised over £15,000 now in 2 years for the food bank, doing just that. And if you want to make a donation to the food bank, you can go to the website, nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk, and make a deposit into the virtual bucket. That bucket is operational 365 days of the year, so get yourself onto there to make a donation. Okay, back to the chat. ADB says, if I was a Toon owner this month, I'd show interest in all the greedy Sixers top players just to unsettle them all. Agents will be rubbing their hands. Richard Morris says, Cavani would keep us up. He would hit the ground running straight away. A cheeky bid could tempt him. You're nodding your head there, Holly.
I think Cavani's a good shout, yeah. I'd be really happy if we did put a bid in for him. I can't see it happening, actually, but I would be happy with him.
Yeah, okay. Staffy says, who would be the first out of the door, in your opinions? Dwight Gale for me.
Could be Dwight Gale. Also, I think defenders, like ones that have been here for a long time, the likes of Kieran Clark.
Yeah, Dwight Gale, I think there could be a deal done with Dwight Gale going to the Championship. There'll be a team desperate for a centre-forward scoring goals who would take a gamble on him. They might get him and we might get somebody back in return. So let's see. Geordie Toombalay says, Southampton always come down like a knackered lift in the second part of the season, so don't count them out. Yeah, you're right. They're a very, very funny team, but bit up and down, as you say. Tom says Gabriel Barbosa is apparently interested in linking up with Joe Linton. Not heard of him. Don't know anything about him. As I said, I'm not one for foreign football. I've got to be perfectly honest. I'd just wait until the sign. Tells us Happy New Year to all at NUFC Matters and also each and every one of our fan base. Keeping the faith for the second half of the season. Survival's a must, and then we can kickstart our future. If we can get him, you can see Do the Botman getting sung around the ground. Barry Botman seems to be another one that's getting linked quite heavily. That's why the Blackburn forward looks good. He's young and he's hungry, and as Mowbray, the manager, says, would not stand in his way with a good offer. The lad looks good. Yeah, he does look good, and I would take him 100%. Paul Stone says a lot of rumours going around today that we've already spoke to Genie on a 6-month loan deal. Again, somebody was spoken about on the show. Genie Wijnaldum, again, I would take him. He's better than what we've got.
Not for me, no. I've spoke about this a little bit with fans on Twitter. A lot of people think it's mad that I wouldn't take him, but personally, I just don't want to bring ex-Newcastle players back to the club. Could he do a job till the end of the season? Yeah, he probably could, but I think there's many other players that could too, and I'd rather bring in someone new that we haven't had before than go back.
Tom says Russian spam sounds like something Del Boy would buy. ADB says Gerrard out. Mark says we've got a very good striker in Wilson, and he had no chances to score. Our midfield make our attack and defence look bad, perhaps. Yeah, but things are on the turn, I think. Things are on the turn after the Man United game. Agalo would do a turn. Yeah, he would. Kenny Ranson says KK managed to persuade good players to come, and we didn't have massive wages to offer. No reason why Eddie Howe can't do the same, and he's got some big backing. Yeah, 100%. Happy New Year to you as well, CD Quinn. Ian says you're going down away the tune.
I think we have a resident Macam in the chat.
I don't know if he's a Macam. What's he saying? Ian LFC M3. LFC.
Liverpool.
Could be like, yeah. If Wilson keeps getting injured this season, he will be replaced. Southampton manager's got a new name from me, has no clue. Geordie Toomba Life says we give Southampton plenty of notice the game was off. We told them in 2021 and didn't play them until 2022. How much time do they need? Even and all, to hell with all these bitter jealous clubs. I can't wait until the Toon juggernaut crushes the whinging morons. Then they will have something to cry about, says Stu. Why the clamour for Ginny? He was a better player when he was at Newcastle than he is now, and he helped us get relegated, says Jano, showing a bit of support there for Holly because she doesn't want him either. I think Howe's done a great job so far. The players look much more interested and have a plan. If we had him from the start, we would be mid-table. Yeah, I would agree on that, Mark. I think Holly would as well.
Yeah, he has. He's massively changed the squad up the best he can with, struggling players since he's came in.
Barry says, today we've been linked with Botman, Ramsey and Barkley. If we are digging into that too, we might just need 2 strikers. Yeah, lots of rumours though. Lots of rumours. Lots of paper talk. And that's what happens during the transfer window, but even more so now with us having money to spend. Happy New Year to you. I know it's early in the window. However, I get the feeling this could be a long window with regards to getting players in. With the task in hand, you would have thought we would have... I'm not sure what the second part was. You mustn't have realised there's a short amount of words you can use. Bellamy has derided our club at every opportunity. Correct. I would never have him back. Good player, but for us as a coach, no. Holly's already answered that one, Tom, and she's not keen at all. Oh yeah, there's CD Quinn's second part. Would have had someone lined up from day one. Yeah, a lot of people have felt that. Yeah, you can see a lot of disappointment in fans on Twitter, especially. My feeling is Nunez from Benfica will come. Jan, I'm not too sure on that. And Mbappe would come if we give him 2 million a week and his own table in the Irish Centre, says Paul.
I think it's the table in the Irish Centre that got him over the line.
That's the clincher, isn't it? At least we're talking about signing players and quality players. It's luxury. We've had not much. We haven't had much of that over the last few years, says Staffy, which is true. Derek says Trippier, Digna loan, Botman, Genie loan, 2 strikers, maybe 1 more. Yano says they can't play unless they're in the squad, and then you're committed to having them for the second half of the season. Wouldn't touch them with a barge pole. How hard is it to get match tickets at St James's Park for non-season ticket holders? It's quite difficult, mate, but you've just got to keep going back to the website, mate. You've got to keep going back to the website. That's essentially what you do. And keep an eye on Twitter. There's always people trying to get rid of spares if you're on Twitter. My feeling is Nunez from Benfica will come, says Jan. Brian says... Eddie Howe knows the Newcastle players before who took the job as head coach, what they were good at and where they need to improve. Yes, Stu, I'll echo your sentiments there. Well done on Callum Ridds on reaching the quarterfinals of the World Championship darts. Played really well. He did, yeah. I haven't watched much of the darts, to be honest, but we've the Geordie contingent are getting better and they're getting stronger. And there's a real feel that we could see one of them in a final or winning a final really soon. Derek says Richie, Clark, Hendricks and Gale. Sell, loan, Woodman, Anderson and Stevenson. Yeah, it's a pretty good shout. I mean, Holly said Clark, I said Gale, and I think Hendricks, yeah, I think you'll keep Richie until the end of the season. I mean, Richie's been supposedly leaving for the last few years, but hasn't. Loans, Woodman, yeah, I'd agree. Anderson, yeah. Stevenson, yeah, I would say. But what about you, Holly, on that suggestion from Derek?
Yeah, I'd be happy to loan out or get rid of all 4 of the first players, especially getting rid of Hendrick and Gale. I think it's got to be a priority, really. The youngsters, Woodman definitely needs to go out on loan. He's not really going to get a look in at Newcastle. He can't progress his career. Anderson, I'd be inclined to keep him until the end of the season, if I'm being honest, because I do think that he would be half decent. And if we're really, really struggling, we had injuries, we had COVID problems, whatever, and we needed to crack on, I think Anderson could do a job. Stevenson, haven't really watched a great deal of him.
I did the stadium tour this week. It was interesting to see Eddie Howe's put a big boombox system in the home dressing room. Ian, that's what you need, man. That's every good Sunday League team has that. Rannick has said he's desperate for Cavani to stay put. Yeah, I can't see that happening, to be fair. 2 months says I got my membership on Christmas Eve. I'm upset. I'm upset, a man of my standing, and I get 006. Where is 007? All right, okay. You got 006, not 007. James Bond got that one. Gillespie, Clark, Gale, and Hendrick out for me. Not Gillespie, man. He's a Geordie lad. He's happy sitting on the bench, getting paid and just being part of it. But yeah, it's another suggestion. There are 5 players who are out of contract this year. That could come into it, of course, Brian. We know that could be it. Is the door big enough, says Alan, for the first out of the door? Johnny Ola, Southampton come down a bit quicker if we buy Ward-Prowse. Yeah, Ward-Prowse would be good, wouldn't he? Again, but it's whether a relegation rival would sell you one of those players.
Yeah, Ward-Prowse, Danny Ings, 2 good players from Southampton. I don't think they'd sell us them this season.
I'm using Holly's card. Yeah, I'm not taking Mitrovic back. He was garbage at Newcastle last time round, and you know about players not coming back. I would take the other guy.
Yeah, I've never watched this guy for Blackburn, so I'll have to look into him a bit more. Obviously, he sounds like he's a good player. I wouldn't really want him this season again, though, just because I really want someone that's got experience scoring Prem goals. Definitely Mitrovic, no go at all.
First out the door, don't say Richie, Holly, otherwise the time will rise 6 inches with Steve's tears.
That's why I left his name out of the situation. Paul
Gibson says, Plummet, Lascelles, Clark, first out the door. When Shelbo starts walking around again, he can go as well. Stick a bit in for Ollie Watkins, says Yano.
Maybe, yeah. I don't mind Ollie Watkins.
Newcastle are doomed, says Amo. Thank you. He took aim and fired his Amo with that comment. Richie should go to Bournemouth. He is too slow for us, in my opinion. What is it? Why is everyone having a pop at Richie tonight? As long as it's not the Pirates spam, says Roger. Yes, I see what you did there. Holly Ginny would be mint alongside ESM. He scored 11 goals last time round. He gets the club as well.
You know, he's a Champions League winner. There's no doubt he's done well in his career, but I just don't want him back at Newcastle.
Musa Nikate from Arsenal seems a decent striker. Scored a hat-trick against Sunderland and wants first-team football. I could score a hat-trick against Sunderland, Tom. That thick Mackham can go in the safe house with Bruce and Charlie, says Paul. Liverpool won't win the Premier League for another 30 years of hurt coming your way. Stephen says, think Ginny would be a great addition. Knows the city, knows the club. Got to remember you need players in just for the next 6 months. You need players for now, hence dipping into the loan market, which is a good point.
It is a good point, yeah, and that's what I alluded to earlier. I think he could do a job till the end of the season. I'd just rather us get someone else.
Amo says Newcastle will come straight back up next season, though.
I think we would if we went down, but I'm hoping we're going to scrape by.
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? It's you need players who are going to hit the ground running. That's the bottom line. And it doesn't matter who it is, as long as they're pulling in the right direction as the rest of the team. Brian says Newcastle will also utilise the low market. They'll not be making superstar signings. They need pragmatic ones, good players and good characters too, which is what we've been saying, isn't it? We do need characters, on the pitch as well as people who behave off it.
Yeah, we do. That plays a massive part in a scrappy season. Again, we've mentioned this many times on the show. A lot of us feel as though Lascelles hasn't stepped up this season. It'd be good to see someone come in and take on that role, and another Matt Ritchie style character who's actually getting game time because he's not in the squad at the moment.
Barry says it's amazing to watch the show with Mick yesterday. Yeah, it was great to see Mick back in full effect. Is it our league position putting players off coming, says Keith? We're only a couple of days into the new year. I think it's too early to say that that's happening. And I think the gap isn't huge, Holly. It's you're talking about a win, a win and a draw, and we're out the bottom three.
Yeah, 2-point gap, I believe it is. It's not a big gap, but I think if players are put off, then that will be the only factor, because I think it's a big club, big city, big fan base, great stadium. They've got a chance to become a big name at Newcastle. And of course, there's a big project there, but players don't want to risk being in a relegation battle. But if it is loans, or if you've got a clause to leave if relegation happens, then you should still manage to get them in.
Michael Wallace says total trust in the new owners to recruit quality players. Very optimistic for this window. Steve, the next away game, maybe you can teach Holly the spam song in the car. What is the spam song? JJ? I really don't know. If you watch the end of Madrid's match, Trippier is leaving. He said farewell and hugged his teammates. Ginger, definitely looked like a farewell to me. Gary says, hi, Steve. I've seen a clip of you jumping about on stage. Was that bad manners on your part? I see what you did there. Yeah, I loaded that up on New Year's Eve. Yeah, it was a good moment for me to getting on stage with the guys. Whatever happens, we got to bust the bank to get players in January, says Steve. Mitro is good with his back to goal, but not the other way around, says Jeff. I just don't like him, mate. I just didn't like him. Lazy. Only thing he did in the last few months of his career was score against the Mackhams. And broke the little run that they had got together against us. How come Man City and Barca can confirm a transfer deal before the window opens? Thought there might have been something more concrete with Trippier. Yeah, again, this is it. You see, there's a few people are disappointed that we didn't make a signing straight away. Paul reckons I saw Diaz play for Blackburn at Bournemouth a few weeks back. Absolute beast, 2 bully centre backs. I'd take him ASAP. I like him. What I've seen of him, I like him. I think Ross Barkley will still do a job. We should go for him. Also, we should put a bit in for Lingard. He might come, says Tom. Remember, Steve, Newcastle don't have to sell anyone. They just have to unregister players who they want to replace. And as their wage structure is so low. Daz's suggestions for outgoings: Gillespie again, Clark again, Fernandez, that's a new one on the list, Ritchie, Longstaff, Gale and Hendrick. So pretty much the same players that are getting mentioned by everybody, really. It's all speculation. We've got to wait and see. Correct. I want players that are up for the fight, not just looking for a big payday. Carl, couldn't agree with you more, mate. Dembele, Tarkowski, Ramsey, Trippier, French centre-half with Lingard, says Tim. Imagine earning those amounts of money and not giving 110%. Mind-boggling. That's the problem, though. That's modern-day football for you. And again, managers who potentially haven't got the the respect of these players because they're making so much money. That's what happens at the bigger clubs. Geordie Tune for Life. We need the Genie song back. Come on, Holly's class. And Liverpool didn't want him to leave. It was all about wages. We'll 100% stay up. Trying to persuade you.
No, it's not going to happen. I think, he left Newcastle and he was desperate to leave. I think everyone could see that. And that's fair enough because he didn't want to play in the Championship, but he needs to just stay elsewhere.
What about Renato Sanchez? He failed at Swansea, but he's been great the last few years.
Haven't seen him play.
Me neither. Put Ramsey and Wijnaldum in that central midfield with Joe Linton, even Idrissa Guy, who we've looked at, and we can control games with that 4-5-1. Players in the past have done well coming in January. Cisse, most of the French connection, Kennedy and Willock. Yeah, I mean, we've done well in the loan market. It's got to be said. Over the last 14 years, the loan market has done us well, and we've picked the right players. So hopefully we can do it again. Just buy the best players from the clubs around us, says Doug. If it was as easy as that, it would be fantastic, mate. It would be absolutely fantastic. Our position should not stop players coming, stop players wanting to come and sell the project if they don't buy them in. Sodom. We need to sign players who have a point to prove, not people who have won everything and want a final payday. Dave says, Steve, Holly, are you both dissolved? We haven't got anyone yet. Disappointed, I think Dave means. Are you disappointed?
Not at all. It's only 2 days in.
Yeah, I'm not disappointed either. I'm 100%. I'm not disappointed. It's one of those things where you have to have confidence and patience with the transfer market. And these are new owners who clearly got a plan. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I think they'll do well. Players like Pepe, Wijnaldum, Ramsey, Guy, Aubameyang, They may be high wages, but we can't complain. We aren't the entertainers anymore. We have to pay for now to gain that high rep in the future, says Ginger. Well said, Mark Earlham. Aubameyang has a massive point to prove. Tim says, I'm feeling confident based on the quality we are looking at, which again is it's true. We are looking at quality players. Watford have stopped 2 of their players going to the African nations. Still not doing them much good, but it's disgraceful doing such a thing. Yeah, that did surprise me that they've stopped one of their players going. It hasn't gone down too well with their with their people either, has it? The African nations organisers.
I'm surprised they were allowed to do that, to be honest, because you'd think it would be the player's choice, and that's really disappointing if they wanted to play in that competition. I don't think that's the right thing to do, no matter how much you're struggling in the league. The
spam song from Monty Python is what they're going on about. That's yes. Now I do know the spam song from Monty Python. So yeah, that should be interesting. That one, I'll dig it out. I'm sure Dave could probably get the CD, Holly, couldn't he?
No more ideas, please. He's already been ordering some over New Year.
Oh no, has he?
Yes.
Do you think we have the people to sell the club project for the future to players? Do we have, do people sit and listen to Eddie Howe wax lyrical about what he's going to do? Do you think that's going to pull decent players in, Holly? It's Kevin Keegan doing it. He won two European Footballer of the Year. He was at the top of his game. Won trophies. Is Eddie Howe the same kind of pull?
Well, it's undeniable that Kevin Keegan managed to attract players who were probably too good for the club at the time, based on the fact that he was very respected as a player, and the way he spoke about the club just filled everyone with so much confidence that we're going to be world beaters. Do I think Eddie Howe will have the same effect? I think he'll try his hardest, but no, I think Kevin Keegan was a very special person, and I think that era's kind of been and gone now. Football's changed a lot. Now, unfortunately, a lot of footballers don't actually prioritise the project of the club. They prioritise things like basically how popular they're going to be at the club and how much money they're going to make, sadly.
Ginger says, I am being honest here, I don't trust any owners, but people have a point. Any club can sign pre-arranged contracts. I think the job is too big for them. The director of football was a must, but they will learn. Yeah, again, it's the fact that there's nobody in there in that position is a bit of a concern. Watford striker, we should buy him. His country were too late requesting him to play, says Yano. Ranieri's eyes are getting beadier by the day. Yeah, Ranieri was a good manager at Leicester, but it's sometimes the right club at the right time. I think it was a bad move for him. I'm hoping their bad luck continues. It's worrying that Trippier played being risking 150k a week and a £30 million move of injured. Okay, I get where you're coming from there. Cracking to catch up with a live one. All the best. We will be all right this season. Take care, Tim. Was that Decker Heggie? Who knows? It might have been, but I've blocked him now. I don't want him on my channel. Thanks. Does anyone know if Newcastle has the Italian press to give us a boost, giving Amanda, etc., an extra pair of eyes when it comes to new players out there to try and buy or loan? Gary, look, they've got a scouting system. They've got Steve Nixon in charge, and ultimately Steve Nixon, will have done his work, I guess. And, we've just got to hope that, with a bit extra money and the club going hopefully in the right direction, that, he'll be able to get those players to come and speak to Eddie Howe, and they'll come in. Howe has no name, Steve. It's why we need a director of football. Football, Keegan had a name, in football, Howe doesn't. Yeah, but it's, you're nodding again, Holly. He is right to a degree. It is a difficult sell, but you're selling Newcastle United, aren't you? You're not selling Eddie Howe. You're selling Newcastle United, and you're saying 52,000 people, the crowd go mental. We need that first player over the line. If you get Trippier in, then people are going to go, wow, Trippier's gone there. That's the key, isn't it? We can get that first one through, we'll be fine.
I do agree, but I massively agree with that comment as well. And I think it takes a very special person to do what the likes of Kevin Keegan did. And I don't think Eddie Howe's capable of that. And that's no disrespect to him, because I don't think many people would be. But don't you think that era's been and gone in football now, where people are solely sold on the idea of an ambition and a project at a football club?
Yeah, Abigail Stevens says the only reason Man City have such a great team is because of money. We now have money, so we will attract players eventually. Yeah, Marco, watching from Dublin, mate. Lovely place. I've been a couple of times. Fantastic. Thanks for joining. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. And as for the true crime stuff, we do it on here, but Decker Heggie, no more on this channel, I'm afraid. I moved on. I said I wouldn't be talking about him, and I am a man of my word, so I don't want that happening on here anymore. Ginger Hoskins says, Steve, if you remember, we were linked with Dennis 2 years ago, but we never acted now, and these two owners have to prove they're better than Ashley and Nixon. Ginger, yeah, they've got to, but you've got to give them a chance. You know, we're not, you know, this isn't like 6 months in or whatever. This is, you know, they've only been here since the 7th of October. This is their first transfer window. Let's see what they do. Let's judge them on the 31st. Can we not sell to these players that they will automatically become members of the cult? Great suggestion, Barry. Maybe he's, yeah. If Trippier is coming, I totally respect that he gave the Athletic fans 90 minutes in his last game. He did win the championship there, says ANZ. Yeah. Think of what he's done with Joe Linton. As the players say that, maybe they will come. Trolls, great point. Yeah, he's certainly done miracles in a short space of time. Let's hope we get our first and second choice ahead of the 9th and 10th, says Doug. Yeah, it'd be nice to get a player in before the Cup game. Great show and all the best, says Tim. Thank you. Tom, we should buy one top signing if he's good and scores goals to get the fans out of their seats. Yeah, we just need to get the right players in. That's what we need. Alan's last 5 minutes, he says, do you think that what might put players off is the atmosphere, because it might make them deaf by the time they're 30? No. Agreed to do the dry January. I'll have to hide away from everyone, as it always seems to end up on the pints, says Paul. Good luck with that. I have a list of 38 strikers that 10 years ago were going to replace Andy Carroll in the press, says Jeff.
Wow, that's some list. Yeah, I think, to be honest, we have struggled for a striker probably since Andy Carroll left. We've had ones here and there on loan, but never like a permanent striker that's doing the job every week, I don't feel.
People complaining about us spending big money. City are buying right backs for 50 million every time, says Daz. Great show. Stephen Holly says, Rachel, thank you. Mark says, I don't think it's hard to sell a club. We want to win the Champions League eventually. Not many clubs would say that. He gets the club. You mean he didn't, and he couldn't wait to get away? Talking about Genie, I suppose. Could we get Shearer to sell the club? Yeah, as an ambassador, but he would need to be working for the club. I guess, you know, he can sell it, you know, without working for the club. He probably does all the time. Everybody give the thumbs up for this great show. Thank you, Gary. I would take Trippier, solid player. It would be a great signing and a showing of our intent. I think we'll get our 5th choice player, says, you know. Who's the 5th choice player? I'd like to know. I did see a question from Tom. Where's it gone? Question, how long does it take to get a transfer done in a medical? It takes as long as it takes, Tom. You know, you've got to get the player to say yes first. Then you've got to get the terms agreed. And once the terms agreed, and that terms are agreed with the player, the terms are agreed with the club. Once it's paid, then they come in, they get a medical. So, you know, best part of 2 to 3 days at the very least, I would have said. Paul says, great show and Happy New Year once again. Thank you, you know, for everybody in the chat, as always. Great to see. Last question, Holly, from me. FA Cup then. We've got Cambridge coming up. Of course, that is next Saturday, so it'll be before we do our show next Sunday. Give us your prediction for the FA Cup game.
3-0 to Newcastle. I think that's what it'll be.
Yeah, I think Newcastle will win. I've been keeping an eye on Cambridge's results. I think Newcastle will do well in that game, and I'm expecting them to play, you know, obviously a few of the younger players as well. It'll be good to see a few of the younger faces play, and certainly will be a different goalkeeper in. I would imagine Darlow will play, possibly even Gillespie, who knows? But yeah, I think we might see the likes of Elliot Anderson. You know, we might see White play, might see Maddie Longstaff play. So it'll be interesting for Eddie Howe to get a few of these players run out. Trippier playing today shows, as far as I'm concerned, and left like a man in front of the fans, just what we need, says Brian. Did you see the Chelsea had safe standing today? I'd pushed to rip the seats out with 2 ends at St James's Park. Yeah, look, we experienced it at Anfield, didn't we, the other week?
Yeah, we did. I feel like it's not quite the same when you're in an away end, because generally you stand anywhere at away games. I would like to experience that at a home game. But I thought the way it was laid out at Anfield was very good, and I'd love to see that brought to even just the corner at St James's Park. I think would make a big improvement in the atmosphere.
Yeah, me too. Great White Tiger says, Newcastle United fans are most passionate in the world. This is from a Scotsman. Great show. Thank you, Great White Tigers. And on that note, we will finish the show. Holly, as always, absolute pleasure. Look forward to seeing you for the Cambridge game, and then we'll be back on next Sunday. I will be having a day off, as usual, tomorrow, but this is your chance to get on the show. Pete and Chris will be doing the 5-minute rant. So get yourself onto the show. And there was a few of you, like Jeff, etc., regulars on the show. Alan, I think, as well, has been on. Get yourselves on the show tomorrow night. It will be 7 o'clock Monday night. And I'll look forward to sitting back and watching that in my living room. But for now, Holly, take care. See you next week.
See you Saturday. Bye.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's